in to the double. Single stride. 6 on the turn to 7 at the end. And then you loop back round the top here. The water tray. Again, fences just coming very thick and fast. Second double. Single stride again. On the near turn. And then round into what is the last. This is a tremendous start here. We're off and running, and we get a clear. Oh, they love it here. It's a tremendous atmosphere here in the arena tonight. 58-26. And puts the clear round on the board. Nurapenti there and Konkaya. It's an experienced partnership. They've plenty of ability at this level. And she's jumping in front of the home support and the home crowd as well. And, well, we'll see where that ends up. 58-26. There wasn't a lot wrong. She found the turn. She kept the momentum. Can't ask for much more than that, I'm sure. Well, there's a long way to go. We've got a total of 42 coming forward in this class. Yuri Mancia. It is Brazil next up then. Tonight, riding Cheyenne de Villiers, the Brazilian rider, this 11-year-old gelding by Nabab Darev. Started with this ride sort of around about a year ago, jumping last week with it, of course, in Oslo. He was one of those clears. We had a number of clears in the World Cup round on Q8 Chalfons. He ended up picking up 4 in the jump-off, so dropped down to 14th place, but he certainly got the horses going very well indeed. This horse jumped well in Spruce Meadows. Strides again on the turn, turning back then round into what is the final fence. He's going to be a little bit slower, I feel. He is indeed 62.11. Nurapenti's time stands as the leading round. Yuri Mansur, though, jumps the second clear round. And we're off to a flyer here on the Friday in Helsinki. So 2 gone, 2 clears. Finland lead on home soil with Nurapenti. 58-26, sub 60 seconds is going to be absolutely key, isn't it? Now, France, 3 of the French riders involved tonight, and this man never won for being particularly slow. It's Julien Eckermann riding Gravity of Green Hill, this experienced gelding by Nabab Darev. He had a win in the summer in Deauville. He's had some important outings for France as well on Nations Cup duty this year. I remember watching him as part of the team at Hickstead in that Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup of Great Britain back in the summer. And those turns on the end of the arena, and this one here, absolutely key to success on this. Jumping, turning on the angle. Forward pace. Limited when you have the related stride. You've got the 6 there to the end, 5 here. Again, the double comes fast, but he's fast to it. Turns back to the last. He's quicker, surely. 58-26 to be beaten. And it is France that lead. They take 2 seconds away, nearly. 56-82, Julien Eckermann. And Gravity of Green Hill now lead. Been changing in the early stages as these riders push to the limit on this course. World ranking competition here on the Friday night of the Helsinki International Horse Show. And that is a clear round that leads the way now for Julien and for France. Well, the next to go, I'm sure, will be feeling reasonably confident as well, because it's the turn now of Swiss rider Alain Dufeu, who started off with the Friday class in Oslo on Dante, who's riding here, Dante MM, with 2nd place, just behind Ben Mayer's round. So a great performance 7 days ago. He also picked up 5th last week in the accumulator on dark grey MM, but this has certainly been his top ride. Jumping at that Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup final recently in Barcelona. by Diarado. It's gone. Rubbed a couple of others. A little bit steadier in terms of the clock as well. Certainly not anything that's going to threaten the time allowed, but sadly it is slower, and it is with a fence down, unable to repeat the magical round from a week ago that took him to second on Dante. Shows you how things can change in the short space of time in this sport as well, but different type of arena as well, perhaps suits some horses more than others. It's just a little bit tighter than we saw last week in Oslo. Not their night, and it means Julian Aquatin still leads 3 clears so far, leading time 56.82. Now another of the Finnish stars, Aurora Vassama, riding Canto Bruno, the 12-year-old gelding by Canto Blanco. Another that was jumping last week in Oslo. This combination, who have been on a couple of Nations Cup teams for Finland this year, jumped very well in Drammen, also in Luhan. One of the young rider on Rising Stars of Finnish jumping. She was part of the Young Rider European Championships in Gole Minore down in Italy on this horse earlier this year. It's her 3rd Youth European Championship outing. It's quite narrow, that fence, for it does allow for the turn. You sort of wonder if anybody was really going, whether the course designers made it narrow enough just to let them to drop inside the double. And they are turning back to that upright, but we'll see how and what the riders do. I think it's just about there, but it really is a risk if they go for it. At the moment, though, these two jumping a nice clear round. Steady. And clear, 68.62. Perhaps looking a little bit more towards Sunday, perhaps looking a little bit more towards what is to come, and just wanting to make sure that Canto Bruno there is settled here at home in Helsinki, with the Finnish rider there, Aurora Vassama, just making sure she jumped the clear, but 68.62, some 12 seconds off the leading pace. Ireland next up, one of 3 Irish riders in play here this evening. Mark McCauley, GRS Lady Amaro, 2-time championship rider, once at the Europeans, once at the World Cup finals in his career. This combination had a very good Grand Prix win in Saint-Tropez in September. Year-old mare by Amaretto Darko, Irish sports horse. Not taking any unnecessary risks, still jumping a nice fluid round of jumping here. It's smooth, 56.82. He won't be too far away, he could still get sub 60 seconds. That is where he's heading, 58.73. He's just a fraction slower than Nuremberg Penty. So the Irishman there, Mark McCauley, moves his way up into 3rd place on GRS Lady Amaro. It's already starting to look like one of those classes that's going to come down to the smallest of margins. There's limited options in terms of where the turns are. I guess just bringing the field closer and closer together, it's going to get quite congested, and then get into the problem that if you do have a fence down, it has an even bigger impact on your overall positioning. Belgium with plenty of talent here. This is Ignis Philips de Vries now riding LMD Marco, but this is one of the younger horses in the class. It's only a 8-year-old. He did well there last week, picked up a top 10 finish in Oslo. Actually an Irish sports horse. This is a gelding by Good Luck VDL out of a Balouet Drouet mare. Certainly a young horse with plenty of ability, and picking up more and more mileage and experience will go well for what is to come in the future. But tonight it is a 4 and 64-66 on the clock there for Ignis Philips de Vries and LMD Marco, the young horse, the 8-year-old, jumping here in Helsinki this evening. So France leading, Julien Eckermann out in front, 56.82. A long way to go, but now it's the turn of Daniel Duisa, wonderfully experienced and competitive Scuderia 1918 Tobago Z, the Super Stallion by Antangelo out of a Mr. Blue mare that has seen Daniel to some huge Grand Prix victories in their time together. Degenbosch last year in New York, Prague. Daniel, he didn't necessarily have the best week in Oslo last week. I'm sure we'll want to get off to perhaps a slightly stronger start here. Confidence is always key. Solid start from these two. Just using that natural pace, natural ability. Certainly a combination that have got more pace if they need it tonight. Almost cruising round, but he cruises to a clear 62-65, goes into the top 5. Daniel Duisa there, and the Scuderia 1918 Tobago Z will be happy enough with the way that's worked itself out. The tonight strong start for those two that will always be one of the favourites when you look at them on paper, at least, especially as we head to that World Cup round, the second leg of the Western European League here on Sunday from Helsinki. The season very much underway with a long way to play as we take the road all the way to Riyadh next April. Well, now the turn of one of 3 combinations for Norway involved here this evening. This is Pal Flam riding Platiche. This 11-year-old gelding by Perrigue. Just sitting back, just holding on a little bit there, trying to find the stride. These two top 10 in the accumulator on the final day together in Oslo on home soil last week. Pal, who's ridden twice on European Championship teams for the Norwegians. This is only the second show, though, for these two together. that early fence down. Over the final fence in 66.97 for Pan there, and Pletiche top 10 as it stands, but there's a lot of jumping, and those with faults, sadly, I feel, going to just drop down the order. So a little bit of disappointment there for him, but more chances to come for the Norwegian riders a little bit later on in the draw. So they're still chasing France as Julien Leclerc, 56.82 as the leading time. A lot of support for this man from Sweden here in Finland, because it's the turn of the reigning holder of the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup from Omaha this year, the world number one, the world champion. So many plaudits attached to this man, and so richly deserved as it stands with his phenomenal run of success in these recent years. Tonight, Henrik riding once more with Khaleesi. These two found their way into third place in the Grand Prix last weekend in Oslo. In fact, in the Friday night class, Henrik was the fastest of everybody with Khaleesi. It was just one fence late on that went down that stopped him winning that one as well. So there's every chance to think he could be in a similar mood to let the horse run here tonight. 10-year-old mare by Celestial, chasing a time of 56.82. Such a love, and there's the turn. I did think it was on, and the number one in the world found it. Brilliant. And he has saved himself seconds with that turn. And she's so fast. Again, land turn. He's able to have such control. Gets out of the double. He's got two fences left to jump. Now just one. 56.82 is the leading time. Henrik von Eckermann. Is he there? He's tight. 56.24. He's done it. Henrik von Eckermann and Khaleesi lead the way here with a fabulous round. And he found that brilliant turn back from 4 to 5. He got the inside line, and at the end of it all, he needed to. She definitely has more pace than I think he's let loose this evening. He's used that tremendous control and ability just to land and turn to his advantage tonight, and whether that is enough we will see, but 56.24, whatever happens, is the leading time as it stands with a great round. So Sweden on top now, France second, Finland third. Moving on, and now to the Netherlands, because this is Leopold van Osten riding VDL, Group Nina de Rotten. Jumped well with his horse in Rotterdam this year. He had a good couple of clears, and also jumped in Falsterbo, Dublin, and plenty of others. It's a horse with a lot of five-star experience. Of course, he's a rider with a huge amount of experience, from those Olympic Games in Athens to 3 World Cup finals in his career. Perhaps just had the chance to watch what Henrik's done. You can see here Leopold pushing on, and he's gone for the inside turn as well, and he's really chasing the horse here. He knows that he's got to keep things moving forward. Scalding by Ironman van der Paddenborg, covering the ground really, really well. It's got a lovely big stride. Just losing their shape, sadly, over the water tray. on the 4. Good time, 57.61 would have got into second. But with the fence going down over the water tray there, fence number 9, that becomes, what is that, 8th place. So not to be for the first of the Dutch challengers here this evening. Still Henrik von Eckermann leading the way. Now this is Estonia now, 2 riders for Estonia ride here in Helsinki this evening. My Aranda rides here with the 10-year-old stallion Ypsilon. A lady that has ridden at Youth Europeans, including the 2019 Youth European Young Rider Championship. Recently in the top 6 with her other ride, expert in the World Cup in Tallinn. Jumped some good rounds though with this horse in San Marino and in Prague this year. Using all of the arena here, you can see slight difference in approach, just making sure she's got the space, giving the horse as much time as is possible. Again, deep into the corner, coming back round to the last. She might run the time allowed a little bit closer than some have, but she's in, and therefore she's clear. 72 on the clock. So Epsilon and Mari Leander there for Estonia gets that clear round and goes into 8th place. 8 clears we have. Henrik von Eckermann though with the fastest on Kalitsi, 56.24 the leading time. Next to go, partnership lining up for Italy. Here's Lorenzo De Luca that joins us next. Lorenzo tonight riding Violino Il Plazietto. This gelding by Verdi TN. These two finished off last Sunday in Oslo with 2nd place together in the accumulator. Lorenzo, who in fact was 3rd in the Friday night class on his other ride, Denver de Talma. And he's pushing on for a good result here. He's taking the twists and turns on. Trying to turn as much as he can in the air. He's not adverse to taking a risk or two here. He's using the experience of this gelding to his advantage, and 56.24 the leading time. Lorenzo De Luca's gone for it. Can he get there? 56.58. He's so close, but it is into second. As close as we've seen, and now the times are really grouping up because that time goes second, and it is 1/4 of a second. That is all off the leading round from Henrik von Eckermann and Kalitsi, but I have to say, Lorenzo De Luca certainly gets the Friday feeling. He was 3rd last week and he's currently 2nd this week. So onwards and upwards. Henrik, though, has kept himself on top with his round a little earlier. Rick Hambrick now. Belgium, as I said earlier, with plenty of talent in the class. And Rick riding Morphine de Musa, the 11-year-old gelding by Nabab Darev. Still trying to chase down 56.24 as a leading time. These two found their way into the top 4 last week. Some good rounds this year, none more so perhaps than Falsterbo, where he was clear in that big Grand Prix. Going to be a little bit slower, but he's still committed himself to this round. Maybe top 6 here, 60.82. It will indeed go into the top 6. 60.82 is 6th place for Rick Henrik there, and Morfine de Musa for Belgium. And the clear round's beginning to mount up a little bit now as well, which is good to see. The double figures is reached. There are 10 of them, and we're only 14 through a class of 42, so great jumping. And from Belgium now to Denmark. No, scrap that. Not Great Britain's Jack Whittaker before that. What a week it was last week for Jack, when he ended up in 3rd place in that Longines FEI Jumping World Cup qualifying round in Oslo on Sunday. Cracking round on Valami to secure that 3rd place. Now, though, he is riding here with Oscar Candures, the 9-year-old gelding by Canaan. Confident round so far. Combination that look like they've got a lot to give going forward, and Jack is continuing to really prove this horse. He's jumped a lovely round there as well. It's not again the quickest, but it is clear. Confidence builds. The future is bright with Oscar Candures for Jack Whittaker. Goes into 10th place, 69.08 there for the young British rider. Also, he was part of the FEI Jumping World Cup final in 2022 in Leipzig when he finished in 5th place. Now we move across to Denmark, because now it's Lars Bak Andersen that goes next. On this ride for Lars is Athene. This horse in the World Cup last week. He found his way into the top 6 on his other horse, Cataly, in the Grand Prix in Oslo. Athene, though, he's produced, jumped into 2nd place in the Grand Prix in Warsaw in September. Certainly been one of the Danish stars of the sport, having jumped at those World Championships in Herning last year on Karl-Heinz B. Again, going quite wide. See how they just give up the seconds when they go wide round these turns. Jumped it clear, 67.83, steady again, 9th place. So it's in behind Daniel Deusser. And you sort of got the difference there. I mean, Daniel, who sits in 8th, 62.65. Lars' time one position behind, some 5 seconds behind as well, 67.83. But still the leading time is outright Henrik von Eckermann's 56.24. Next up, it's the turn of the Austrian number 1, Max Kühne, who rides with EIC Cooley Jump the Queue. The 10-year-old gelding by Pacino. It's great to see these guys back. They'd had a little bit of a break since Longines went to Oslo last week. The partnership here that won the Grand Prix in Basel back at the start of this year. Max last week as well was top 4 in the Grand Prix in Oslo on EIC Julius Caesar. He's recently had that medal-winning performance as part of the Austrian team on Electric Blue P at the European Championships in Milan in September. Again, not looking to chase the clock, just looking to set this horse up for the classes to come. It's always the compromise you've got to make sometimes in these opening day competitions. 70.12 on the clock, leaves the fences up and he'll be happy. Job done for Max Kühne there in EIC Cooley Jump the Queue. The queue at the moment, as we've said, led by Henrik von Eckermann. Behind him in that queue is Lorenzo De Luca, Julian Aquatin, Nura Patenti, Mark McCauley and Rick Henrik. The top 6, it's Sweden, Italy, France, Finland, Ireland, Belgium. Now back with Finland, as their next jockey is Anina Nordstrom, riding Thesu, gelding by Harley out of a Chin Chin mare. Jumped on several Nations Cup teams this year for Finland. Ulgahan, Deauville, Drammen perhaps the best because it was the double clear where the team ended up in the top 6. Perhaps not taking the tightest of turns, but also not giving up more space than they need to. There's Hugh jumping nicely off this floor. We're going to go into that big gap of time. Just behind Daniel Dusa, they go ahead of Lars Bak Andersen, and it means that there are 2 for Finland now in the top 10, with Anina Nordstrom there going into 9th place with Thesu, 67.62 the time of the clock. So the home riders getting plenty of support, all the riders getting plenty of support. There's a really passionate crowd here. Next to go, it's France and Bruno Gares are riding United Sunhope. These 2 had a lovely win in Saint-Tropez. They were second in Chantilly. Jumped in the Royal International Horse Show. Saw these 2 at Hickstead in the summer. Bruno was 5th man for France at that event. 62.54, all clear for Bruno, faster than Daniel Duisa, so gets into the gap and ahead of Daniel behind Yuri Mansur, goes into 8th place there to give France their second rider down the top 8, with Julien Eckermann sitting there in 3rd. Still Kevin Stout to come for France a little bit later, the former European champion. Talking of European champions, here's the new European champion, adding his individual title as European champion with the individual gold in Milan on Dynamics de Belgium this year, to what has already been quite an illustrious career and a rather large trophy cabinet that includes an Olympic individual gold from London on the Great Nino, but a 3-time World Cup winner as well. It is Steve Gadat, and he's riding this exciting 9-year-old. This horse is called Albefrens Isherin Seat. It's gelding by Bamaka de Moose. And last week, actually, Steve took this to Oslo, but he didn't jump it in the 5-star, jumped it in the 2-star, and ended up with a brilliant second place in that 2-star Grand Prix. Really one of the highlights for him last week. And this horse showing plenty of qualities that are going to show for a very good future. Asking enough questions tonight without asking too much as the horse continues to build its experience. 64.51 is into 10th place for Stiger out there as Albefrens Yashin Sit jumps a nice clear round. Clear rounds, what have we got? 16 clear rounds. Henrik von Eckermann though still leading as the fastest of them all. As we move from one to another, it's the turn now of Richard Howley, and what a Sunday he had last week when of course he won that World Cup round in Oslo. 5 days later he starts here in Helsinki. Tonight though he chooses the younger member of the team, the 8-year-old. He took this horse to Oslo, actually jumped in the Grand Prix last week. He had a nice top 10 in one of the other classes as well. It's called Zodiac du Boisson Z by Vidial Zarocco Blue. Consuliet, his World Cup winning round, his first ever win in a World Cup round. What a start to the Western European League it has been. It's a monster of a jump off. 15 or 16 clears, it really was a difficult task to come out on top. He beat Simon Deleste and Jack Whitaker into 2nd and 3rd. Clear round, 67.74 to go just outside the top 10. Richard Howley there, and the 8-year-old Zodiac du Boisson Z drops into 12th place. So we are halfway through this big class here on the Friday night in Helsinki. And as it stands, the world number 1, the reigning holder of the FEI Jumping World Cup, Henrik von Eckermann, leads the way on the beautiful mare Calizzi out in front, the 10-year-old. Lorenzo De Luca, Italy, sits 2nd. Julien Eckermann currently in 3rd. Then it's Nora Penty, Mark McCauley and Rick Henrik. That at the moment is the top 6. There's the order, as you can see, for the top 4. 56.24. And look how close it is. It is as tight as you like between the top 3, and we are only halfway through this big class. We're going to take a short break and we'll come back in a few minutes' time with the second half. It is not to be missed as they chase down the world number 1. Welcome back to Friday night in Helsinki, the Helsinki International Horse Show, which will on Sunday, of course, bring the second leg of the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Western European League round to bear when we enjoy that big class. But Friday night is already off to a fabulous start with the world number one and the reigning holder of the FEI Jumping World Cup holding top spot at the moment, Henrik von Eckermann. And Kalitsi, 56.24 was a brilliant round, but it is so close with just 4 or 5 tenths of a second between Henrik, Lorenzo De Luca that sits in second, and Julian Aklatin there in third. So there's every reason to think in the second half of the draw there could be one or two that are able to try and chase down that leading round. Maybe to start, we go to Belgium. It's only a 9-year-old though. It's Jordi van Massenhoven's round. It's Olympic van de Paderborn, a gelding by Balabet de Rouet. Best of the Belgian riders, Henrik so far, but he had a good round with this last week. Found his way into second place in one of the 5-star classes in Oslo. That turn there is one of the key turns. Is seen the fast rides getting the inside drop, being able to sneak back inside the second part of that double on the turn back from 4 to 5. And this 6 dried line, you're committed there, and you come around this turn, and again you jump the parallel, you're committed on the 5. It's the turns on the end, and for instance here, it's how quick can you land and turn, and tight can you come back to this double. And of course designer Guilherme Jorge, in fact that fence has just gone, but he's given them the double of uprights, I guess, just to let them feel that they can sort of race back at it. Unfortunately there for Jordi, it's a full score, 65-67 on the clock for the next to the riders from Belgium. Well, 2 still to go in the draw for Germany this evening. Best of the German riders, the one we've seen. Daniel Deusser still sitting in the top 10. Now, Mario Stevens finished off well last week on Botkara OLD to win on Sunday morning in the accumulator in Oslo. This horse is Darissa. It's been a top 5-star ride for him. Top 6 in the Grand Prix in St. Gallen this year, where he was on the Nations Cup team. More recently, top 3 in the Grand Prix of Munster. Able to keep up a nice rhythm despite going round. He's got a lovely flow to this round. He's got the horse moving forward nicely in front of his leg. He's still get into the top 10 with this round. He could well do. 60.86. He's gone into 7th as Mario Stevens, and Starissa. It was a very smooth round of jumping, and the crowd really appreciating the sport here tonight. They're getting behind all of the riders, but they know when they've seen nice rounds, and that was one of them. So Mario Stevens slotting into 7th place is a little bit faster by a couple of seconds nearly than Yuri Mansur, who now drops back into 8th place. A lot of clear rounds. We're up to 18 of them overall. Italy at the moment sitting in second with Lorenzo De Luca, and now with the next 2 Italian combinations. This is Eugenio Grimaldi riding Ibiza, the 10-year-old gelding by Durango VDL. Italian rider who jumped in Rome at Piazza di Siena this year. This horse, prior to going to Oslo, a little bit light on mileage internationally this year, was in the jump off of the Grand Prix, where they also had a win in Nami in Italy. That was back in June. goes down. Just rolled the front rail away. Given one or two others a little bit of a knock as well, but they score at the moment still just the 4. It's a little bit of a long way off the double. Kept it to the 4, 67-60 for Italy's Eugenio Grimaldi there in Ibiza. So not challenging anyone at the top, sadly, with that round. Well, I'll let the arena commentator do the singing and then I don't have to. Happy birthday to that man. Well done, Eugenio. Now, where are we? We're here with Norway, with one of the Norwegian greats, Geir Gulliksen. That's the man that has represented Norway at every level of the sport. He's hugely popular here in Finland as well. He's ridden at 5 World Cup finals, most recently in Leipzig in 2022, when he had that wonderful ride, which of course took him into the top 10 again last week with VDL Group Quattro. He was one of the clears in that World Cup round in Oslo last week. This horse, though, is Ambrosio Dalazzi, the gelding 13-year-old by Kubela du Tilliard, that was a new ride to Gear last time out. So quite a few riders in its time on the circuit, this horse. In the past, been ridden though by Gear's son Johan, and the likes of Pish, Switzer, Abdullah Ashabatli, Woody van der Massenhoven all had their chances. And actually, I think last week it really worked out nicely. These two had a really good round to finish in 7th place in one of the 5-star classes, and Gear finding the confidence quite quickly. Again, committing himself to this round. He's chasing sort of towards the top 10 at the moment. He's just got one final fence to go. Can he make the top 10? He is 62.58. He's going to go into 10th place. Geir Gulliksen there looks up at the screen. Ambrosio Dalazzi there. The partnership may be new, but it's certainly one that looks strong. So be happy with that. As I say, he was in great form last week on the home soil. It was, as I say, that big jump off was part of it. Ended up inside the top 10. Well, now another big time rider, another multiple medalist in this sport, because this is Sweden, and Jens Fredriksson with the great Gerardo's Roselif, 6th in that World Cup on Sunday in Oslo with this horse. Jens, of course, part of the recent gold medal team performance in Milan, where he also finished individually in 5th place on Markon Cosmopilit at the European Championships. He was part of the team gold at the World Championships in Herning last year, and with that wonderful ride, Markan finished in 3rd in the World Cup final in Leipzig a couple of years ago, but he went for the turn, and despite how narrow that fence is, whether we'll see it on the replay, but that back rail goes down. In fact, catching himself as well, going into the double. That's not a fence we've really seen fall down. on the 8 by the end of the round, 64-23, with those two fences going down in almost quick succession for Jens Frederiksen and Diarado's Rosalief. So not his night, and at the moment, though, it is still Sweden's night because Henrik von Eckermann is still leading the way. As the world number one holds on to the number one spot with that clear round time in 56-24. Next to go, it's a chance for Spain. Mariano Martinez Bastida riding Jup, the 9-year-old gelding by Carrera Vidial out of a Silverstone man. Part of the Spanish team with his top ride Biliano, both at the recent Longines FEI Jumping Nations Cup final where he was on the Spanish team for the second consecutive year. He was also part of the European Championship team on Bilano in Milan. Quite wide back from 4 to 5. Again, using the arena at its fullest. Well, that fence down. Now round to the double. It's the last to keep it on the full. 67.55. So he drops down the order with that fence going down for Mariano Martinez Bastida there for Spain on the 9-year-old jump. And still then the top of the order does not change. 19 combinations have gone clear. Now it is the turn of a partnership for Belgium once more. This time Anthony Wellens rides Danger Seville Van Het Lindenhof Z by the great Diamant de Semeli. The stallion is 11 years of age. Jumped a good round. Finished in the top 5 with this horse in the Grand Prix last week in Oslo. And he's got the turn. Very smooth, very nice. Pushing on into the double. He's attacking this course. Tight to the wing on the right. Keeps the line narrow. He did what he could. You saw him sit up and take a pull coming down to the water tray. But just unfortunately off balance slightly. Be interesting to see where the time is because he hasn't really backed off. 55.41, the fastest of them all. But that fence is so costly. Instead of going into first, he drops down into 20th. Painful fence going down in terms of where that puts him in the lineup, but a great effort from Belgium's Anthony Wellens there, and Danger Seville Van Het Lindenhof Z. Really classy round, but for one fence that went down. Well, it shows Henrik von Eckermann could be beaten, though, in terms of the clock. They're just perhaps going to need a little bit of luck if they're going to do it. Now to the second of the Dutch riders involved tonight. It is Kevin Jochems. He rides with La Costa. The ride for the last sort of 12 months. It used to be ridden by Ismael Garcia Roca. It was a 5-star ride at that point for the Spanish rider, and been done some big 5-star shows. These two jumped on the Nations Cup for the Dutch in Brussels and recently out in Spruce as well. Started the year off strongly with a cracking Grand Prix win down in Veer. He lands nicely and gets the turn, comes back tightly. Don't think he's fast enough to challenge the top three, but where is he going to be? Kevin Jochems flies the last to finish in 58.40. He's into fifth on La Costa. With a really nice looking round. The Dutch rider then moves his way up into the top five with that performance. So he's well up into the money and into the ribbons as it stands. Gets himself into a gap between Noro Benti, who stays in fourth, flying the Finnish flag highly as it stands. Now for the second of the riders for Estonia, because this is the turn of Mattis Morna riding Herbert. This is a combination as well, actually, that arrived here in relatively strong form. This 11-year-old gelding Baltimo had a very good win in the World Cup round in Estonia in Tallinn in October, just a couple of weeks back. Bit in the air. They're not wasting any strides where they can help it. They're keeping the turns relatively tight. So it has gone. I think the crowd told us that. Good effort, 63.86, but for the fence that has gone for Mattis Moro there and for Herbert for Estonia. So not their night either. And still the top of the order is as was. As here comes another of the sports stars, because it is Kevin Stout that goes next. He's riding then with Visconti de Tellemont, the mare by Toulon, and the Vadolo de Minière mare that he rode in Omaha at the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup finals this year. It was his 11th time at those World Cup finals for a man that, of course, has been an individual European champion and an Olympic team gold medalist. This is a horse that has had success both individually and on French teams. He was on the winning team in the Nations Cup at Hickstead last year with this horse, and just look how easy he made the turn using the experience and class of this wonderful horse. This mare looking very strong indeed. Not racing between the fences, but he is jumping really well. $56.24. It's going to be tight. I don't quite think he's fast enough for the top spot, but it's a great try. 58.22 goes into fourth. He's as close as anyone to the top three. It means France now third and fourth, with Kevin Stout slotting in behind Julien Aquatin. Sadly for the Finnish star, Nora Pentti, she drops back into fifth place. Top three just clear, and there is just that step difference. As good as a turn he's made in places there, Kevin just maybe not fast enough between the fences, and that's the difference. You're looking at about a second and a half between third and fourth. There is a bit of a gap there. Next up, another big star in the sport, because it's the turn of Swiss star Martin Fuchs now with Bastille. Martin, who of course won the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup final back in 2022 on Chaplin, a individual gold medalist, team gold medalist from European Championships. This horse that he's riding today is called Bastille. There's a new ride for him this year. It's only a 9-year-old. By Balou de Rouet. He took this horse out to Spruce Meadows, where, of course, with Longines, he won the Grand Prix out there in the Masters. He did have a win, though, in one of the jump-off classes with this 9-year-old. You can see again, maybe not as fast as the leaders, but it's still a very strong round. Very good round indeed for the world number 4. As he jumps it clear with the round there, Bastille, the 9-year-old, 64.08. So he drops down into the middle of the pack with the way it's working out. 22 clear rounds, that goes 14th. So that was Martin Fuchs there for Switzerland. Ireland up next. Another horse that looked very strong last week until just came unstuck in this Friday night class. It is Shane Breen here with Scartine, this ride that he started with in the middle of the year. Once more, this gelding by Cardento, that has shown prestigious pace. Won the Speed Horse of the Year at the Horse of the Year show in Birmingham the week prior to Oslo in the 3-star. It's also a brave horse that won the Bull Derby back in the summertime, and Shane is using the pace to his advantage here as well. He jumped into 5th with Quick Star in the World Cup on Sunday, but this is a quick round at the moment from Scartine and Shane Breen. That leading time is under threat, 56.24. Henrik von Eckermann, the world number 1, leads, but Shane Breen and Scartine are about to try and beat them, and they've done it. 55.64. The Irish star leads here in Helsinki. She is so fast, or he is so fast, I should say, Scartine, the gelding, and that man in the saddle is absolute class, and certainly will have enjoyed that. Waves to the crowd with the appreciation they have enjoyed watching that as much as we have. That was a cracking round, but he is such a fast rider and such a fast horse, and Scartine there reducing the goods. So now it is Ireland that lead, and Shane has taken about 0.6 of a second of Henrik's time, but we saw a slightly quicker round, if you remember, a little bit earlier, but for the fence that fell. Nevertheless, we will see what these two could now do for Italy, with Francesca Tortoriello riding quite Baloo. The Italian's turn now with this 12-year-old gelding by Quite Capital, and he is also not hanging around. Rode in the Europeans on home soil this year with Maid in Rusterhof, did have a top 4 with this horse last week in Oslo. It's been a Nations Cup horse for him at Hickstead and in Suppot. Very capable jumper. He's not that far off either. It's not quite going to be fast enough to challenge Shane. I wonder if he can get himself into the top 10, because the way it's stacked at the minute, it is awfully tight. If he can go sub 60 seconds, he will indeed break into the top 10. And that gives Italy 2 in the 10, as Francesca Tortoriello there goes into 9th. The other Italian, of course, being Lorenzo De Luca, that sits in 3rd. But it is Henrik von Eckermann 2nd, Shane Breen that leads. Francesca there into 9th place. And now there's, 8 or 9 still to go in this big class on the Friday night in Helsinki. The second leg of the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup coming up here on Sunday. This hugely popular event, the Helsinki International Horse Show. Now it is the turn of the final rider for Finland on home soil, Susan Granroff, riding KG Corazon. Best of the Finnish riders, Nora Pentti, we know, sat in 6th place at the moment. These two had a top 4 finish in this class 12 months ago. Also gets the turn. Now, can they get the jump? Yes, they can. Twisting in the air. A little bit lucky. The pole rolled. It stayed, though. Keeping up a lovely pace. Back to the double. Oh, it's gone. Coming out has gone. Well, what a shame. After 4th place here 12 months ago, they had some good results this year in Drammen, but 58.68 was at a time, and this will show you how tight things are. That would have gone into 8th place, despite the fact it's only 3 seconds off the lead. But it isn't to be, because the fence falls and with it does their position. So unfortunately there, it is not the night for Susanna Verhoff and KG Corazon. Now they're Belgium. And 2 left in the draw for Belgium. This is Jens van der Broek riding Faldiano. Very experienced stallion by Heartbreaker. This is a stallion actually that have really shown its qualities in the last couple of years in the stallions, the sires of the world class at Zhangjiajie at the World Breeding Championships. It's finished 3rd this year. It also finished 3rd last year with Jens. Since then went to the big show in Centaur where they finished in the top 6 in the Grand Prix. They jumped here together in Helsinki last year. They were 2nd in the Grand Prix in Oslo last year. It's a very capable partnership. Just tonight, not chasing the time, just looking to jump the clear and produce a quality, confident round. Quality and confident, if not fast, but not fast tonight. 71.37 for Jens van der Broek and Faldiano, so they finished there outside the top 20. It leaves us, 6 more to go in this class as the turn now of a partnership for Germany in the form of Philipp shoots the top off. Here he is. Rides Aventus 4. It's been quite a year for Philipp. Some really big rounds and played a big role on the Global Champions Tour. He, of course, won the World qualifying round in 2021 in Eckermann. This horse stepping up at the beginning of this year into 5-star competition. They were top 10 in the Grand Prix last week in Oslo, and he went for the turn, just sadly clipped the front rail as he went there. Very much one of the young stars of the sport in Germany. Just coming extra wide, just allowing the horse time and space, and it's got a really good shape and jump over the last. 64.23 on the clock for Philipp shoots a top off there, and Aventus. Keep an eye on them over the next couple of days. He says he went for it. It's just that front rail putting pay to his chances, and then of course he took all the pace out of the rest of the round. So then there were five more to go. Norway, Sweden, Great Britain, Denmark and Belgium. We'll start with Norway and Vicky Gulliksen now with Mistral van de Vogelzan. This, of course, a lady that was part, again, of the European Championship team for Norway in Milan this year. She had a top ride, Papa Roach, that went and finished in the top 10 in 2021, didn't they? Individually, the World Championships, World Cup finals she qualified for the first time in her career earlier this year when she went to Omaha and started the season off so well last year with that second place in Oslo in the World Cup round. Didn't quite work out as well last week. To this ride though, Mistral, the 11-year-old gelding by Elders to Put, new ride back in the spring of this year. To clear in the Grand Prix in Rotterdam with it. Still clear tonight. It's a fabulous arena for the sport, this play arena here in Helsinki. The crowd steep and high beside us. The hospitality there as well. Great viewing, 67.98. Steady round just outside the top 20 for Vicky Gulliksen though. Starts strongly with Mistral, leaving us now 4 more to challenge Shane Breen. Has Shane done enough tonight with Skarteen? He's beaten Henrik von Eckermann, Lorenzo De Luca, who's sitting second and third as it stands. There's some strong competition still to come inside the final 4. Especially with this man in Peter Fredriksson. Hansen WL, the gelding by Hip Hop, the Swedish warm blood that has been a brilliant horse throughout its time with Petter. Won some big Grand Prix like the 5-star in Riyadh in 21 or the Bull and Cannes Grand Prix in 2018. Jumped well together in Rome recently. Last week they were 7th in the World Cup round, part of the jump off in Oslo last week. But not looking to extract every second out of this course as he just takes a tight enough line, but just, you know, he's gone wide there. He's not looking to overly challenge the clock. He just wants Hansen to have a nice trip this evening and be ready for Sunday. .37.36 on the clock. He's inside the top 20. As we said right from the start, he was never really looking to push the envelope in terms of time. Peter Fredriksson there with the Hansen WL. So Ireland getting ever closer with Shane Breen's round on Skarteen. But we're not there yet because 3 more still to go. Well, that looks like Caroline, but I had Joe as next to go. There he is in the background. Joe Whitaker we'll pick up in a moment with the cameras for the British rider with Jessica Crane's Hula Hoop JR, the 11-year-old stallion by VDL Babalu. Started this year with that brilliant World Cup win at the Al Shira International Horse Show in Abu Dhabi, and they had a fantastic result together. And now getting his chance here on the Western European League this weekend to look to replicate that win from Abu Dhabi last year. Put in some brilliant performances for the British team at the start of the year as well with this horse, including being on a winning team in Sharjah. Be quieter through the summer, getting ready for the winter. Round he comes. Again, you can see the difference, just taking it a little bit steadier in terms of pace. He found himself, he knew he was a little bit off that, and he just started to ask a little bit more in the middle of the distance as he was trying to reach for the 5. Nothing to ask again there, but on that occasion able to jump it. Unfortunately, therefore, it is 4. As Joe Whitaker finishes on Hula Hoop JR 63-68, leaving us just 2 more to go now to try and chase Shane Breen at the top of the order for the big opening night here in Helsinki. Is it going to be Ireland's night? Could it be Denmark? Could it be Belgium? Those are the options. And at the moment, it's Ireland that look favourites because they're in the clubhouse. The job is done. But now it's Caroline Redov Pedersen and Kelvin 115 for Denmark. The 12-year-old gelding by Castellan. Second of the Danish riders involved here this evening. Of course, we saw Lars Bak Andersen, who was second in this equivalent class in Oslo, having the fence this week. Could it be the turn of the young start that had 2 top 10 finishers with our horses in Oslo last week? Got the inside turn, had the control, had the composure, unfortunately didn't have the jump when they got to the fence that followed. To jump. That 1. To finish in a final time of 60.19. For reference, that is a time that would have got them into the top 10 had it not been for the fence that had gone down, but it isn't their night. Kelvin and Caroline Hoff Pedersen there for Denmark. 1 more left to go. It is Film for the Mere. For Belgium, the last out with Diarina OHZ, the 9-year-old mare by De Cassie OH out of a Clarismo Z mare. Film who recently was part of the Nations Cup performance in Barcelona on IQ, as he was also at the Europeans for Belgium in Milan. Road Joyride didn't quite go to plan last week in the World Cup round, but maybe it'll go to plan tonight with Diarina. He's certainly letting this 9-year-old skip and hop nicely as it stands, and you can see it'll be interesting to see what he does here. This will be the tell. He's gone for it. Oh, will he not? Oh, well, he got the turn, but it's it's all over. He got the turn, but it really knocked his balance out and rhythm out, and that's such a shame. But he asked. He was skipping off at the start, wasn't he? And he just didn't quite make the turn comfortably enough to be able to not sort of scare the horse or just put the horse off a little bit because it saw the fence coming up beside it, and then he completely lost his rhythm then to on the turn back to come to the upright, which is a shame because full marks for trying. Still a horse that's gaining experience, been building up through this year at this level. Looking forward to seeing more of these two, actually, because this is a horse that really suits him. They suit each other, and I think is a mare that'll be very fast in the future. But tonight, with the faults on the board, it isn't the night for Film Vermeer there. And Diarina OHZ tonight here in Helsinki on the opening night for the 5-star riders. It is Ireland's night, it is Shane Breen's night, and it is Skarteen's night. The wonderful gelding owned by Shane alongside Marianne Schindel. The 10-year-old gelding by Cardento has come out on top. He threatened to do it last week in Oslo. He did it the week before with the speed in Birmingham, but he's done it here in the 5-star in Helsinki. And there we have it. The winner tonight, Shane Breen Skarteen, ahead of the world number 1 and world champion, Henrik von Eckermann and Kalitsi, third. And he did that 7 days ago. Lorenzo De Luca this week, though, he finishes there in third on board Vigliano Palazzetto. 4th and 5th going to the French with Julien Acotin and Kevin Stout, and a great result for the Finnish star Nora Pentti here on home soil in Helsinki to round out the top 6. Plenty of clear rounds, certainly kept all of the riders on their toes, and there is going to be plenty more to come when we are back for that Longines FEI Jumping World Cup round here on Sunday. Richard Howley tonight with Zodiac. We'll have Conciliette here for Sunday's big one, and he looks to try and continue to extend his lead in the Western European League, as there will be plenty more looking to put a big score on the board, and all of these horses and riders will be going for the win come Sunday afternoon. So huge excitement in the build-up to that one, and plenty more coming your way live on FEI TV as the indoor season well underway now, and the Longines FEI World Cup circuit is charging on as we head towards April and to Riyadh for those big finals. Tremendous sport tonight, great jumping, really close, and top riding from them all, but huge congratulations to Shane Breen. Delighted for Shane and the team at Breen Equestrian as they win tonight. The Irish flag will fly and the anthem will sound. I'll leave you with that presentation and all of the action here in Helsinki to come. But thank you for tuning in tonight and enjoying some world-class sport with us here on FEI TV.